awesome, man. Yeah, it's cool. I like the area. Grew up here. Been here my whole life, and it's home right now. It's great.
Vic, the box is in the way, bro. The box is in the way. We can't see the talent. Here we got Crowbar sitting there.
There I am. Okay, I could see myself.
There he is. See, it's not like we're professionals or anything. We're just professionals or something. Like we've been doing this.
Hey, we're just shooting the ish.
Just shooting the ish, man. I hope you grabbed the beer. I hope you're feeling relaxed.
Absolutely. Everybody expects it. Now, I've done interviews in the past, and they were very disappointed when I didn't have the wine from doing the promos. And
yes,
I hate to I don't drink wine on the regular. I like it very much, but I like to watch my carbs and stuff like that. But I do enjoy it just on the regular. Today, I explained before we went on here, long day at work. Started off like 7:30 in the morning, just got home now. And you guys mentioned on with the Twitter text back and forth, let's shoot the ish and have a beer. When I do have a beer, I love a Bud Lime or a Yingling. Tonight, I have a Bud Lime. But when I have Bud Lime, I'm not ashamed. When I have Bud Lime, I like to have a Bud Lime tall boy.
Ooh.
I love me a tall boy.
I love the tall boys.
No other way to have a Bud like Lime. No other way.
Have you tried the Yingling blonde? Have you come across it yet?
I have not had the blonde. I have a few regular Yinglings in my pantry upstairs. Have not had the blonde yet.
Oh, the blonde is amazing.
Those are my two favorites. If I'm having my favorite food on the entire planet, if I wasn't watching my diet, I could have it every single day, is buffalo wings. Nothing goes better than buffalo wings and Yingling or buffalo wings and Bud Lime.
True combo right there.
That's the perfect meal. I could eat it every night if I just didn't give a shit.
It's delicious. I mean, bone in or bone out, because that's a big difference.
Yeah, bone in.
Bone in. You have to have a bone in. Yes. Vic over here, when he eats buffalo wings, he like licks the wing, and that's the whole thing. That's him eating buffalo wings. He's one of those. You're one of those fighters.
He eats chicken nuggets. Let's call it what it is at first, all right? Boneless wings are just chicken nuggets that they've marketed it to you by throwing some sauce in.
I mean, don't chew the bone, but have some meat, dog. Like, what are you doing? All right. Well,
I tell you, when I have wings, I make sure that bone is clean. I enjoy my wings.
See, that's how human beings do it. You see? That's what human beings do. Not you. You eat like a pigeon. What a weirdo. Nice thing.
Absolutely. Sure, absolutely. Well, what people don't realize is I pursued professional wrestling and physical therapy at the same time. And that was back in the day when there's no online classes, nothing like that. You had to go up and show up in person. So when I first started my college career, I was doing mainly independence. When I got into physical therapy school, I got a call to go do some nightly stuff for WCW. That's when you saw Devin Storm with that badass mullet and the neon green squigglies on me. That's when I did Nitro against Conan. I did a WCW Saturday Night against Eddie Guerrero, which was cool. I was full-time in physical therapy school, and then that transitioned WCW. I started doing shows for ECW. At that time, they were very much East Coast based. Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, up as far as Boston. So it fit my schedule. So I would work my ass off at school all week. I would go to the gym, had no social life. And then Friday, right from class, I would go to wherever the ECW show was. So it was pretty much nonstop. So I pursued both of these things at the same time. After ECW, I was still in physical therapy school, went back to WCW for a bit. I did the WWE light heavyweight division stuff, WWF at the time, I believe it was. And so both of these things have been a part of my life for a very, very long time. I've been a pro wrestler for 30 years. I've been a physical therapist for 23 years. And they're very interconnected. When I do the stuff that I do out there, I did the show for AEW a few weeks ago, and they go, how do you still move like that? How do you still do that kind of stuff? And I really credit my physical therapy background. And I've had this discussion on a few interviews since then. I just give an example of low back pain. Everybody has low back pain, especially pro wrestlers. If you see somebody at the gym that's very well versed, very knowledgeable about gym exercises, they're aware of the notion that your abdominals, your core support your low back. So in order to have a healthy low back, you want to strengthen your abs. So given that, a lot of these guys will injure their back in the ring and automatically think, okay, I have to work on my core to fix my back. If you bulge a disc, if you partially herniate a disc, if you start doing a lot of abs where you're flexing and flexing and flexing, that strengthens your core. But if it's early on, you bulge that disc more. You push that bulge out more. So it's knowing when to implement exercise, which is crucial. And I've tried to help guys over the years. You know, they tell me, oh, I hurt my back. I said, okay, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing a lot of sit-ups, a lot of crunches. And I'll say, stop. And you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I'm trying to help. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, there were many injuries along the line that were small injuries that could have progressed to bigger injuries if I didn't know what I was doing or how to address them, how to heal them. So that's really been a huge part for me personally in being able to continue to wrestle the way I do. It's just, you know, I've really been able to nip things in the bud and stop small problems before they become bigger problems.
So needless to say that you apply your teachings to yourself or your learnings to yourself. What would you say is something that you see that you do that other people don't do, other wrestlers don't do?
Just having that knowledge of how to address injuries. As a wrestler, we get hurt. We all work through injuries. Nobody wants to lose their spot. A lot of people don't want to report an injury, you know, because they don't want to be taken off TV because, you know, that's coveted time. You want that opportunity, and we can do that stuff. In my case, over the years, over the past 30 years, well, not 30. I started when I was 17, graduated physical therapy school in 98. So after 6 years in, I really had a strong knowledge on how to address my injuries and how to stop them from really becoming larger injuries. And that's been applied to me personally. More and more wrestlers over the past year and a half, 2 years have come to raising the bar, or have at least called me or texted me and said, hey, I had this happen to me. I live 45 minutes from you. I live an hour and a half from you. Can you at least take a look at me? I'll drive up and tell me what I should and should not do, because I don't know. And I know you know how to deal with a lot of this stuff. So early on, I would give advice and it goes right over the guy's heads. Now they see the stuff that I'm doing in 2021 at 47 years old, and they're becoming believers that I know what I'm talking about.
All right. That's right. So just real quick, if you can, what's one piece of advice, like one solid piece of advice, particularly indie wrestlers, but any wrestler, what would you tell them?
As far as what?
Their physicality, their physical well-being, if you will.
If you're injured, when you get injured, when you get hurt, if it's just a little bump or bruise, and when it's more serious. I really think low back pain needs to be given more attention than it gets. People hurt their back, and certain things for the back you do better with flexion, bending forward. Some things do better with extension. Some things are just straight up muscle spasms. And as people go on throughout their career, if their back injuries progress and become worse, back affects the nerves, which affects your legs. Your legs become weak. You start hobbling, and you become less and less functional. If at the very least, I would say, if you have a neck issue or a back issue, and not even me, wherever you are at, get a professional opinion. And at least a lot of the wrestlers are very knowledgeable exercise wise. And if they could find a healthcare provider, physical therapist that can identify the problem, at least explain to them what they should and should not do, they could nip a lot of these problems in the bud. I had a wrestler last week, low back pain, and he doesn't have the time to come 3 times a week. He lives far away. He has a job. And what I did was I took time out, and I didn't just tell him, do this exercise, this exercise, avoid this, and this. I busted out the models. I busted out video, and I let him understand why you should do this and not that, and understand the anatomy and the mechanics of what was going on. Because if you understand why, you'll be more likely to follow what that healthcare provider is going to tell you, as opposed to just that person telling you what you can and can't do. It's when you understand the problem and what's going on, you just follow along better. And I try to do that, not just with my wrestling patients, but with all my patients. I really try to educate the hell out of them, that especially that first visit, but in the subsequent visits that follow as well. You need to understand why. Hey, like the wrestler I saw last week, bulging disc in the back. Okay, so his job is, as much as possible for the for the next week or so, avoid sitting. When you sit, you get a little bit of a slouch, pushes out the disc, makes it worse. Avoid forward bending as much as you can. If you have a match, that's one thing. But if you could eliminate the bending and the sitting throughout your regular everyday life the rest of the week, that's a big win. You know what I'm saying? And don't do abs. Don't do those sit-ups. Don't do the crunches, because you're going to be bending your low back and pushing it out more. Instead, for this particular individual, his instructions were to go backwards, extend backwards, which a lot of people don't realize. And he's really doing quite well right now. Especially back then.
Yeah. I mean, that junior weight style that you used to, well, you still do, honestly, work. Would the style of the performer really be indicative of the type of injuries we're going to see?
Yes and no. I mean, I really believe, this is going to sound crazy, most of my injuries, even if they were brought on by wrestling, say it was low back, and most people that have low back pain, it may come from a bad bump, but the majority of low back pain comes from a prolonged sitting. We sit a lot at our jobs. We go home, we sit on the couch, on the recliner. That flexed position contributes to low back pain. A lot of us have desk jobs, or we're at a computer a lot. My back feels great when I have a busy patient load. I'm on my feet and I'm jumping from patient to patient to patient to patient. And even if I'm actively wrestling, going to the gym, my back feels great. My back takes a beating the few times a year when there's a lot of administrative stuff, the end of the quarter, when I'm sitting all day doing paperwork and on a computer. When I'm doing extended sitting, that rips my back up. So if you combine somebody where maybe in their real life they have a job where they sit a lot, if they have a real job and they wrestle, or if they're just a wrestler, but say they game all day or they watch TV a lot during the day, or they spend a lot of hours doing that, and then they go and bump, that bump that hurts them is just a straw that breaks the camel's back. But a lot of the damage, a lot of the bulge was caused by extended sitting. I never thought we'd be doing this on a wrestling podcast. We're talking healthcare-ish now. I hope it's interesting. I hope I'm not boring people.
No.
Now, at the very beginning, no. I was, when I look back to what I did very early on as Devin Storm, I mean, there are several times I probably should have broken my neck or died. Yeah, I was just trying to get over and get noticed. And as I've matured now, there's still certain moves that I'll do to the floor. If you look at a lot of my outside move set, like with Joey Janela on Dark Elevation, right. Vader Bomb to the floor off the guardrail. Looks cool. You really don't see it. I'm not depending on anybody to catch me. In 30 years, I've been dropped so many times, and it's not malicious. It's not somebody, it just happens a lot. So I prefer a lot of moves to the floor and even inside the ring where I could put a body down, and it's up to me to take care of me and that guy, and I don't have to worry about being dropped. You know what I mean? So I can do a lot of those things still. If I'm working with a larger guy, I'll do a flip to the outside or something like that. But it's very few far in between because I've just been dropped way too many times. I'll say this again. The athleticism that exists now is on some outrageous, crazy plane of existence that I can't even fathom. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Always my least favorite dive to the floor. I'm sorry.
Good. No, I'm glad. I'm glad. Let's talk about it because I'm a fan. I've always been a fan, like old school, of the baseball slide. I have not seen a baseball slide in at least like 10 years. There has been.
I use it often. But Tope Suicida, if you go back early on in my career, I did use it. I always used it, never straight on, never. I always would kind of turn. I would exit the ring and kind of go sideways so that by the time I hit my opponent, I was almost in a high cross body. With all this crazy stuff, there's so many moves that look way more impressive. And although you can get hurt, the injury, I feel, is less risky. Let me explain. Tope Suicida, even if it's done perfectly, the guy clears the ropes, doesn't catch his feet. You've seen it with the Viking guy, Todd Smith. He liked that video. Even if you hit it perfectly, you hit the guy, and if you just hit, and your body might just tank and just go head first. There's so much that could go wrong, and the first thing that's going to hit is your head and neck. People may say, well, guys who do an Asai moonsault from the top rope or from the second rope to the floor, they flip and let they land. What if they mess that up? If they mess that up and they complete the flip and they land funny, sure, they might sprain or break an ankle or a shin bone or something like that. You're not landing on your head and neck. All the dives carry a certain amount of risk with them. And if you're front flipping, backwards flipping, doing whatever, you're probably landing on your feet. So if anything is going to get injured, it's probably your ankle, your knee, or something like that. When you're doing that tope suicide, you're leading with your friggin' head and neck. And out of all those dives, it looks the least impressive, in my opinion. I'd rather see an Asai moonsault. I'd rather see a front flip over the top rope, whatever that's called, the tope con halo, whatever. I'm old school. I really don't know the names. When I used to call that move, I say front flip to the floor, Sabu thing. So, I don't know the technical, but with the tope suicida, you're leading with your head and neck. And that's my biggest argument. And all of these guys are so friggin' athletic. They could run down the apron and flip. They could climb up on the second turnbuckle, flip to the floor. They could do all this amazing shit, part of my language. But a lot of them choose to do this frontwards dive, which I think looks the least impressive of all of them, and I believe carries the most risk for serious injury, because the first thing that's going to hit is your head and neck.
Listen, quite frankly, in my opinion, the only person that should do a tope suicida is Darby, because Darby is made of rubber.
And he's still he still has like that kind of turn to it, I think.
Yes.
If I believe
he kind
of
as shoulder,
crazy as it
right?
looks, it's actually, yeah, he hits with the shoulder. And in my opinion, which means nothing, it's way safer than the head first dive.
See, and that's ironic because people think he's risky as shit for doing it.
He's friggin' smart. His finish is that coffin drop, which it's a straight drop. It looks fantastic, and it's safe. It checks all the boxes. It looks really cool. You can take care of your opponent. It's safe for your opponent and you could do it on anybody, whether it's a small opponent, large opponent. It's a prone body, and he could use that finish. That's an effective finish when he could do it on anybody. When you get a finish where you got to lift somebody up and lift them or do something, you get somebody that's larger than you, and you can't do it to, then now your finish is gone.
What's a finish
that can be done on anybody?
What's a finish that you would consider maybe the risk outweighs the reward?
Risk outweighs the reward. I don't know if it qualifies as a finish, but I've seen a lot of guys mess up on a buckle bomb. I really don't like them. There's a lot of whiplash there, and if you're slightly off, it's bad news. I did one of the CZW dojo shows a few years ago with Jimmy Lloyd. Had a really fun match, and one of the students tried a buckle bomb, and they missed the buckle, and the guy literally went over the top rope and landed on his head and shoulder he missed the buckle. You can find it somewhere. It's there somewhere on a line somewhere outside the ring. He front flipped, landed on his neck and shoulder, and it was a pretty horrific sight.
Crap.
And again, not malicious,
right?
But when you're holding a guy in front of you, you can't see where you're going. His crotch is in your face. You don't know exactly. It's an educated guess where you're going to land this guy. And there's so many cool moves. Just get rid of it. And again, I'm putting these guys over. These guys have friggin' ridiculous athleticism. Just do something else that's safe. You can do so many other things that look way cooler and is way safer. Just do those. Wow, you guys did your homework. Wow. Wow, you guys really know the story. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we're like weird nerds because like I studied medicine at first and then I turned out to do something else. But I'm fascinated by all this shit. I really truly am, honestly.
I tore my left ACL my freshman year of high school. I was on the freshman squad, and then one Sunday we all decided to go. Although we had football going on, we needed more football, so we went out and played some unorganized football down at Memorial Field in Rutherford. And I was running down the field, tackle football with no pads.
Over or under the fence?
We jumped a try-on field fence. Yes.
Yeah.
And I was running with the ball, just got hit on the side, and I felt my left leg just go. Pop like I've never felt before. I'm 13 years old. What the hell is going on here? 13 or 14, I think 13. And I ride my bike home, go to the doctor, yada, yada. You have a torn ACL. At that time, the rehab for an ACL is like 15, 16 months. It's a long rehab. That rehab has evolved exponentially to like 4 to 6 months, depending on how aggressive you are. But way back when, it was well over a year. So I have a very overprotective, nervous mom. And she hears some other people, oh, that's a big surgery. That's a dangerous. So between that and not wanting to miss winter and fall sports and being able to do stuff, I opt to wear a brace, a DonJoy brace, and I go to physical therapy. My first ever experience with physical therapy. I'm miserable. In hindsight here, the biggest blessing I could ever imagine, because that really set me on this path of wanting to be a physical therapist. That's a little footnote there. I rehab it. I end up really getting involved through rehab, training legs and upper body. I have a great physical therapist that was also the trainer for our high school team. He would later on mentor me when I started volunteering as a physical therapist. He would write my recommendation that helped get me into physical therapy school. It's a really feel-good story. So I come back. It's my sophomore year, and I'm blowing guys off the ball like crazy because being in rehab, they're working the shit out of my legs, squatting, leg press. My legs are getting huge. I come back, have a very successful sophomore year. My junior year starts up. I'm having a great year, and I blow my other knee. I'm chasing the quarterback on a sharp angle, and I just feel a pop. And I couldn't believe it was my other knee. So I was in the middle of a good year there. Again, I didn't want to take the time off to rehab. And also, my junior year, I had plans of, right after football season, going to Iron Mike Sharp School for professional wrestling. And I'm like, I'm not missing this. I can't miss going there. So I'm going to brace this too. I'm going to rehab the hell out of it, and I'm going to do without surgery. So yada, yada, yada. Through the miracle of physical therapy, it does work. It is real. I was able to successfully play my senior year of high school football. Not having the ACLs reconstructed, I went to Iron Mike Sharp School of Pro Wrestling my junior year and did well with that. And I wrestled my whole career without them. And now I'm actually doing pretty well. You know, they're actually eventually I fixed things up. I'm feeling good. But I made it through the early part of my career and high school football with no ACLs at all, which was at the time pretty unheard of.
Moving pretty well.
Yeah.
This Friday coming up, I will be in Ridgefield Park for ECPW, a company that I've worked with since early on in my career. I believe I'm wrestling Johnny Chill, one of ECPW's young, up-and-coming baby faces, and I'm gonna have to be an evil prick and like hurt them and stuff.
Yes, that's the good part.
You gotta indoctrinate him, right?
That's it.
I'm glad you mentioned Iron Mike Sharp, right? Because we wanted to ask you about that as well.
Right, sure, go ahead.
I'm gonna take like 3 steps back. What was that first moment for you that like wrestling became part of your consciousness, where you fell in love, where this was like, oh shit, this is something I want to do?
I remember way back when my brother is 10 years older than me, and he would watch the late night wrestling with my dad. And it would come on like 11 or 12 at night, I believe, Channel 9. And I would have to go to bed. We lived in a little Cape Cod, so my bedroom was way in the back to the right. And you could diagonally see the living room, and the TV was there. So I would go to bed, and wrestling would come on, and I would crack my door open, and I would watch wrestling through the crack in the door, and I just loved it. And that love just grew and grew. And I say this on all my interviews. Back when I broke in to wrestling, it was a different time. It wasn't fashionable. It was almost taboo to profess how much you enjoy. I'm still the biggest wrestling fan. I believe I'm the biggest wrestling fan on the planet. I love this shit.
Who was your favorite?
Who was growing up, the first guy that really captured me, and even to this day, I think he's one of the greatest, Macho Man Randy Savage. The capes, the headbands. I liked him when he had the long capes and the headbands and the sunglasses. Still liked him with the jackets and the cowboy hats, but I like the original long flowing capes and the sunglasses. And I use this word, I try to do it the best I can for this modern age because it's hard. But Macho Man had pageantry. He brought pageantry to pro wrestling, the music, the outfits, the way he acted, the way he carried himself. You watch him in the ring, even when he was something was always going. There was always motion. There was something there. And when all that stuff came off, I thought his wrestling stuff looked real. It looked aggressive, but watching it as a professional, it was super safe as well. I really think he was a great professional. And as a child, here's what I'm saying, as a child and as an adult, I'll put on a 1980s Randy Savage match and it feels the same. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. You know, as a child, as an adult, as a professional, it still feels the same.
As a professional, who's your favorite right now? Or maybe favorite's a weird word to say as a grown-ass man, but who are you watching right now that kind of captures your interest?
First, I'll go into my regular watches. Randy Savage, of course, that's a daily watch for me. I'll watch Arn Anderson on the regular, not maybe daily, but on the regular. And here's one that I'll say, probably after Macho Man, one of the guys that embodied what I believe is great about pro wrestling is like 96, 97-ish, maybe 95, 6, Steve Regal, Lord Steven Regal.
Yes.
Love Steve.
And I'll explain why. I'll totally defend this, prove me wrong. Okay. Here we go.
You're wrong.
He comes out, this Regal, no pun intended, this robe, this majestic robe, very strong, classical, Regal music. Once in a while, he would have a powdered wig. He had an attendant, Sir William. Eventually, he had Jeeves, but it was the same kind of character. Had all this, again, pageantry, coming out to the ring, all this stuff that had a character. He was an identifiable character that made you watch. You believed he held you with disgust, and that you believed who he was portraying, right? When all that shit came off, he took off the robe. If he was wearing a wig, when he took off the wig and all that. When he took all that shit off, you saw an incredibly worked professional wrestling match. So you had everything. You had pageantry. You had an over-the-top character. But when the bell rang and all that stuff went away, you saw incredible wrestling.
Oh man, he was so great at like all the little things.
Yep.
He was so great, and he used to piss people off, and that was my favorite. That was my favorite part.
Well, I just loved him with Bobby, with Bobby Eaton.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. You're sure.
Old school, you wanted to ask since the beginning. You've been wanting to ask. Go ahead, yo.
Go ahead.
So you were trained by Canada's greatest athlete, Iron Mike.
Wait a minute.
There has been documented accounts that he was very particular in being cleanly, and I want to know if during your training you saw any of those intricacies.
I'll go this far. I'll give it all. Great guy. Loved Mike. Real sweetheart of a guy. Looking back, if I go to a wrestling school now, I'll wear sweats or shorts or an old pair of tights that I don't mind getting messed up. You know what I mean? I dress like I'm going to the gym. Most people dress like they're going to the gym. You know, tights, maybe an old pair of wrestling trunks, whatever. Mike Sharp, and I didn't know any better. I was 17 years old. I got in the ring to train. Mike Sharp would get out there, full boots, black trunks. He would put the forearm band on not all the time, most of the time, and oiled up. He would train us like he was going to work at the Garden. Mike was that intense in, I guess, protecting kayfabe, making us believe, I don't know what it was, but in thinking back, I have never seen that from another wrestling school anywhere. Mike showed up to train us like he was going to walk down the aisle at MSG. The only thing that may or may not have been there would have been the arm brace, but he had trained us on occasion wearing that arm brace. So he was all in. If you saw him in the back, he had a giant hockey goalie bag, big, super big duffel bag. And inside that bag were smaller bags. And inside those smaller bags were smaller bags. He was extremely neat. He knew where everything was. And all those stories you hear, they are 100% true. He would work out before and after the match, and you couldn't blow this guy up or tire this guy. His cardio was on another planet. It was crazy. All true.
You mentioned kayfabe, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the erosion of kayfabe over time, right? Where pretty much most wrestling fans know what's going on at this point, or know what's going on at this point.
As long as they're cheering and having a good time, like I knew way back when, like I knew probably when I was 12, 13, just by talking to my dad and other people that, it was a work and I didn't care. You know what I mean? With the way information is so readily available, it's impossible to have kayfabe. I think one of the things that are fun in this day and age is actually making people believe, and when I first started doing my promos, like some of these smart fans, who the hell is this prick? This old guy's talking shit about the young guys. I got some really nasty messages about myself, my family, all kinds of, and
it's real to a lot of people.
I said, I got some, if you hit the right buttons, even though they know it's a work, you can at least elicit that response temporarily and have them believe for a little bit, or at least question whether you're a good guy or is this guy really a prick.
Yeah,
now
right?
I'm getting a lot of love with the promos. Guys are going back and saying, "Wow, this was really cool, this cool." But when they first came out, and I was touching upon the clown wrestlers, the comedy wrestlers, or the death match wrestlers, or whatever, there were some people that got really, really hot, and I would scroll through these, and I just laughed my ass off. And I'm like, yeah. At that time, it was 2020, and I'm like, yeah, I got them. This is really cool. Because what I was saying, if you analyze it, there is truth behind it. And Chris Ford, I'm a huge wrestling fan. If you love wrestling, that's great. There are some genres that I like. I like more traditional genres. If you like more of the deathmatch stuff, more power to you. Buy wrestling tickets, enjoy yourself. Buy those guys as merch, support these guys. But I still watch wrestling both as a professional and as a fan. And there's some genres I don't particularly care for. So I just had some fun poking fun at those. But fast forward to when I worked Ricky Shane Page for JCW, I talk shit about deathmatch wrestling for over a year, garbage wrestling. The fans are the bowels of the demographic, the lowest of the lows.
Yeah. But where was the promo? Because I just heard facts.
Yeah. The finish of that match saw a guardrail lined up in the ring on a chair and on the bottom rope, and a bundle of 12 light tubes on top of it, and Ricky Shane Page power bombing me on 12 light tubes on top of a guardrail. So as a heel to that audience, at least GCW, JCW audience, I talk shit on their product. I got what I deserved as a heel. So it's, there was a payoff there. Mm-hmm. It was the last move of the match. I wasn't rolling around in all that light bulbs and shit. That wasn't going to happen. But it was the last move of the match. Nobody saw coming. One of the most satisfying aspects of watching that match was the fan cams. And the way we built it up was we had the guardrail and the bundle of light tubes on top. And I watched several fan cam footage, and he hooks me with the power bomb. And you hear the guy in the crowd, there's no way he's taking this. I knew everybody would say there's no way that this 47-year-old guy is going to take a power bomb on light tubes on the guardrail. And that's what they thought. And then me and Ricky talked backstage. I said, okay, I'm going to go to backdrop you. So post like you're going to backdrop. So Ricky goes and he posts, and you hear the guy in the crowd like clockwork. Here we go, backdrop. And the backdrop didn't come. He hooked me again, power bombed me, and the place went friggin' ape shit. And so the smart fans that thought they knew everything thought that this guy that talks shit on their product, there's no way this asshole is going to take light tubes. I found a safe way to do it. I'm not going to reveal how.
Sure.
But it looked fantastic. Glass went fucking flying everywhere. Part of my language, I'm sorry.
Are you fucking kidding me? You're good,
but those fans on the fan cam, it was so satisfying to hear. There's no way he's going to take this. Here we go. Backdrop. No way. Right. That was, to me, again, really fucking cool. Treat your body right. That's it. Treat your body right.
Crowbar, you've been everywhere, man. As Johnny Cash would say.
I love Johnny Cash.
You've been everywhere, man. What has been, I'm sure you've had a lot of experiences, a lot of fun times, but what promotion or what time in your life really stood out as like, man, this is the most fun I've had? Or like, this has been like just a grand old fucking great time to be a wrestler for you? You've got quite a repertoire here. You've got quite a list of places you've been at. So what has been the most fun for you?
It's hard. Like WCW was awesome. Really, really awesome there. Got to work with a lot of guys that I watched. Got to share a locker room with a lot of guys I watched as a kid, which was really, really cool. I was given a character, Crowbar, which I always say when I first stepped foot in Iron Mike Sharp's school's ring, little boxing ring, really stiff, not that good, but when you step through that ropes for the first time, it's amazing. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm in a wrestling ring. And your aspirations are always to do something great, to make it to the big leagues. But if from that point on, if I just did his school shows, or if I just did independent shows, it would have been a dream come true. It would have been great. Fast forward, holy shit, I'm in WCW. And the first few times I was there was really cool. The WWE light heavyweight division, also great. But now I'm here. I proved myself on their Saturday night show as the darker character of Devon Storm with the dark hair. And they're bringing me up. And now I'm Crowbar. I'm a character. My first night out, we're winning the tag straps, which was crazy. You know what I mean? And totally unexpected. Throughout that time, I get to work with the likes of Terry Funk and Meng and Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, Billy Kidman, guys like that. Chavo Guerrero, who I was a huge fan of, and it's a great time. But then we fast forward now to recent, what's in your most recent memory is kind of close to your heart. 2019 hits, 2020 hits, wrestling closes down. Throughout the years from the end of WCW to 2019, I wrestled when I wanted to. There were times when I would take 6, 8, 12 months off. Stuff just got busy at home. I was a dad. I was starting a business, got to get that going. I'm a husband, but I would always go back, whether it was once a month or once every 6 to 8 months. I always kept a hand in professional wrestling, not because I had to, because I fucking loved it. And I loved going back to it, and I loved doing it, and I enjoyed doing it. So 2019, 2020 hits, pandemic, wrestling is gone. Or it's going on in other states here and there. I work in healthcare. I own a healthcare facility. I own a healthcare facility in New Jersey that says if you leave the state, you got to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks. So I'm pretty much, I got to keep my business going. I really can't be leaving the state and doing shows because I can't shut down my business. So I'm forced to really refrain and not participate in any in-ring wrestling. And it's something that I still was loving. At the end of 2019, I had that match for Ring of Honor. In January or February of 2020, I did the Ring of Honor, what was the show called? The free show, free enterprise show. And then all this hits, and I have to stop. I'm enjoying myself. I've had this gimmick with my wife and this bodyguard guy forever. I'm finally getting an opportunity to show people what it's about. And COVID hits, and I can't go to these shows because I can't shut down my business. I can't afford to. Right. We're blessed that we're essential, and I could stay open and still work. I was very grateful for that. So I have to find an outlet. So I always thought of experimenting with messing with the fans. Let's see if I could still be a real heel and get some of these people to believe. And sometime in April, I go out there and make some comments, and I rile people up.
Timeless comments.
Timeless comments. Prior to that, I opened my Twitter probably in 2017. I didn't use it until December of 2019. I just had no time with work and family and stuff. And I didn't realize that wrestling really existed on there. So I started messing around, round fans up. And the response from a lot of these fans are, who are you, boomer? You're nobody. Boomer, boomer, boomer. So the first promo, if you go way back on my Twitter timeline, is me in my bedroom with a blank wall behind me, drinking a glass of wine. I'm shooting it, holding the camera in hand, and it's titled "Who Are You, Boomer?" Right? And I just did it for fun, just to see what would happen. And I've had that idea for the character forever. I just never took the initiative to pursue it. And we put it up. Cody comments on it, which automatically gets a bunch of eyeballs on it. And that first clip gets like 15 or 16,000 views. And I say, wow, maybe I'll keep doing this. I'll have some fun. I've never been known as a promo guy. My character just never called for it. But let me just try to keep doing this. And if you watch, it was almost a weekly thing. I produced them. I got backgrounds in there. I got certain camera angles. I added the music. I added the subtitles and all this stuff. And that became my wrestling outlet all through this up until ECWA's Super 8 in April. This became my outlet, and this became what people knew me for. And I totally lost track of what the question was. Shit. I'm rambling here. Full disclosure, very bad ADD. I'm sorry.
Us too. Don't worry about it, because I forgot what I asked. It was said about how much fun you were having, and this is where we went, right? Because
so I started with that. So I started with that, and during the pandemic, I'm watching AEW, and as I said, I'm a professional, but I'm a big fan, and it was exciting to watch this new company pop up. WWE is great, but this was a new toy. It was something new characters that were characters you hadn't seen in a while being used in new ways, and a whole bunch of new characters that I was unfamiliar with. You know, during the whole time between WCW and like now, I would go to independent shows. I would wrestle. I would often show up with my gear on. If it was local, I would wrestle and leave. I wasn't aware of the wrestling culture, who was out there, or anything like that. So I was seeing a lot of guys that I was not familiar with, and I liked what I was watching. It was cool. I said, okay, let me try to get something going there. I've had this idea for a character. The Ring of Honor thing was a great opportunity. I got some great feedback from that, but COVID hit. Maybe I'd kind of like to maybe go there. I don't know if there's going to be an opening up there in age, kind of sort of, but they have Dustin there and Jericho's there and guys like that. So I said, let me just, during this pandemic, thank God I had a exercise bike at home. I had a full gym at work. I stayed in shape. I took COVID and I said, I'm going to come out of this in great shape, the best shape that I could be in cardiovascularly and, just physically. And I'm going to give a run at this. And I do the Super 8 in April. I do JCW in, I believe it was May or maybe June. And I have some good footage there. And I send it down to QT Marshall. I really don't hear much. And then I'm on vacation in July in Orlando in Old Key West Resort in Disney World. And I'm eating lunch. Yes. And a text comes across. We're going to use you maybe for the September shows. And I lose my shit. And like I said, I'm not embarrassed. It's not fashionable. Old school taboo to acknowledge that I lost. I'm like, okay, this is friggin' cool. And your work pays off and it's acknowledged and I'm excited. And that gives me now I'm on vacation, Disney vacation, where in the past I would eat whatever the hell I want. If I got up late one day, I'm not going to work out today. That vacation, I had the tightest Disney diet I ever had, and I worked out more than I ever did on a Disney vacation ever, because I knew that this opportunity was coming down the line.
And it showed, because it was a great showing against Joey Janela. That match was dope as fuck. Did you have a good time there? Because it looked like you did.
I had a great time. I loved working with Joey. I know him very, very well. It was a whole lot of fun. But there was an issue with time, so the finish came rather abruptly. But had that played out the way we had it planned to play out, it would have even been a little bit better, I think. But for the time we had and for what they needed, I would like to think that the people enjoyed it. I hope they did. I certainly had a great time.
Yeah. For sure.
And out there teaming up with the Meanie, who I know Brian my entire career almost. We've never worked together, ever. We've shared a million locker rooms. Not a million, you know what I mean. Right. We've shared so many locker rooms, but never really been paired or worked together. And in some weird way, it was fun and it just worked. And I love that guy. And you see on the post-match promo, it was so much fun. And it was just an overall friggin' cool environment and just cool to be there. It was awesome.
That's like a crazy intersection too, because it's like a lot of the old WCW guys are there either backstage or somewhere working up front, and then you have a lot of New Jersey talent in AEW.
Yes.
Raising the bar.
That's it.
Except I think Mischief got something to say.
I have nothing. I've made the time. I'm here. So ask away.
So that's right, baby. So we're gonna hit you with a lightning round, rapid fire questions. Right, give us what you got.
This is where you might say something you regret. Oh no!
I can't wait. This is my favorite part now. After the Bud Light Lime, here we are. Here we are. We lubed you up. Now we're ready.
You're gonna get me heat. Nobody's gonna book me in. Nobody's gonna book me anymore. It's gonna be all your fault. Oh, you guys suck. Fuck you guys.
Later.
We'll talk to Gino. I'm sure he'll still book you for ECPW. It'll be all right. We'll look it out. We'll work it out.
We'll start off nice and light, right? What's your favorite cheat meal?
Buffalo wings.
Buffalo wings. Straight up buffalo wing. Is it blue cheese or ranch for you?
Blue cheese or ranch. Usually more blue cheese. And there's different levels of cheating now. As you get older, your metabolism slows down. You got to be more careful. So I might cheat and I might just do the wings, no blue cheese. Once in a while, if on that day you had a great workout, you had a rough week, and you got a case of the fuckets, I'm dipping in that blue cheese and I'm enjoying myself. It all depends on the mood. But I try to avoid it. I try to cheat responsibly, but if I don't care, I'm all in there. Whole drum is in there, and I'm.
Where are you getting the wings from?
Jim Dandy's in Rutherford. Go ahead. Ooh. Where's that at?
They're Elmwood Park, right?
Park. They've got this Nutella peanut butter wing. Sounds no, I swear to God, I had the same piece.
Chase. Really?
Yeah, it was delicious. It's kind of ridiculous how good it was.
Yeah.
Nutella peanut butter on a wing.
On a wing, yeah, like it's
and a side order of Lipitor.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah. Diabetes intensifies.
Yeah. Wow.
What's your favorite movie?
Star Wars.
Star Wars, any particular one or just the series? We'll take it at that.
Oh, if we go down this road, I'm going to talk and I'll have to defend why. Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Most people say Empire Strikes Back. I'll say Return of the Jedi, but I'll have to explain why. Being a kid, movies came out, I don't know, 3-4 years apart. You had to wait for this stuff. Now, younger fans have seen, they can watch Star Wars, Empire, Return, Episode 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, all the yada, yada, yada. As a kid, Empire was great. You saw Han Solo getting frozen in carbonite, which is cool as hell, and he's right there.
Oh shit! You have the whole thing. Look at that.
So very, very cool. But through Star Wars and Empire, you heard about the Emperor. You heard about Jabba the Hutt. You never seen him. Now, the version that's out now, you see Jabba the Hutt in Episode 4, A New Hope. When I grew up, Jabba wasn't there. He came along later in what was called a special edition. You never saw Jabba till Return of the Jedi. So as a kid, Han Solo's in a bad way. He gets unfrozen. I'm just going quick here. Luke shows up. He got his ass kicked in Empire. Now he's in all black. He's choking out the guards with the Sith choke. Green new lightsaber, and he's a badass Jedi. So you see Luke the way you want to see him. Han Solo gets unfrozen. You see Jabba the Hutt, who's badass. You fast forward, you see the Emperor in the flesh. For the first time in any Star Wars movie, you see a guy shooting lightning out of his hands like the Emperor.
Right.
Darth Vader turns babyface, which nobody sees coming. And then at the end, Darth Vader takes his mask off. Huge payoff all around there. And that's why. As it's relative to the time that it was available and as it was watched, and as a kid, you waited for that final chapter, what we thought was a final chapter, and you got all those payoffs in that episode. And that's why Return of the Jedi will always be probably the most special to me.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. And those are some moments that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
For real. If you could pick a superpower, what would it be?
Ooh. I think flying's cool. I like to fly. Some people say reading minds, or I don't want to know what people are thinking. I don't care what people are thinking. I think flying around be kind of cool.
Wrestlers tend to fall in two camps.
Go ahead.
And it's either flying or teleportation, mostly because of travel.
It's the trans.
Yeah.
It's the trans.
Yeah, for real. It's like, let me get the fuck there. So, who's someone you want to meet, real or fictional?
Real or fictional? It's cliche to say, as I'm going to get the obvious one. Jesus Christ would be the best. That'd be awesome. I think that'd be awesome. But if we get shallower and just me being a Star Wars fanboy, I will go with Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. Only if he talks to you like the Joker the whole time.
Nah, he don't need it. Luke's better than the Joker.
You like Luke Scott? All right, fair enough. What's the worst purchase you've ever made? It's not Harrison Ford and Carbon. Definitely.
No, definitely not that. Let me think. The worst purchase that I ever made. Ooh.
Where you're just like, I can't fucking leave. I did this. At the moment, you were like all in, but then you look back and you're like, damn.
I could tell you a whole bunch of the worst purchases my wife made that had to go back or that we got stuck with. I give you a whole bunch of those. I'm like, oh, we fucking bought this. Come on.
For what?
Yeah.
You didn't even want it.
Yeah. Let's keep it with wrestling. Over the years, there have been many. I've always been very creative, and I've always been very liberal with spending money on ideas to see what it may or may not look like. And over the years, I have drawn up and have many different kinds of outfits made that when I got them and I put them on, this sucks, or this looks, but you would have never known if you didn't go ahead and have them made physically. You know, you could draw a picture. As a kid, I drew a lot. And even throughout my wrestling career, I would draw these ideas for tights and outfits. And throughout my career, I would draw different outfits, which also were very dependent on if I was very busy with family or work at the time, my varying levels of fatness as well. I would have to cover myself up. So there have been many, many tights that I have bought that are literally brand new that have never seen the light of day, but I had to have them made just to see how they would fit. I've always allowed myself that purchase. I've always allowed myself to splurge on stuff like that. My one vice is professional wrestling. That's what I enjoy. That's what I do. Otherwise, I'm very frugal with my money. It goes towards my family, towards my kids, towards my life. But if I have an idea for a pair of tights and I want to see how it looks, and I'm really not sure how it will or will not look, I'll have it made. And there are several pairs of tights that I've never seen a wrestling ring that are up in my attic. How's that?
That's crazy. So now I want to watch a Crowbar run where he only wears reject attires.
Oh, wow.
Like you just wear all the reject shit that you're just. We got to get some sweat on those tights, man. Put them shits on eBay.
That would be funny. Wow. That'd be really funny.
Yo, you saw Crowbar in his hot pink tights? I don't even know why he had those.
Like different variations of bodysuits. I have one pair of pants that I wore maybe 4 or 5 times. Giant baggy pants like Meng had at one time. Those really baggy pants with the corset like I wear now. And that looked cool, but it was just uncomfortable to wrestle in. I have multiple variations of shit that just didn't work. But I had it made, and I paid to have it made because I had to know.
You got to see it to feel it, to see if it was working out.
That's my one thing that I splurge on, so I really don't feel bad. Well, and Star Wars memorabilia.
Word. What's the dumbest way you've been injured? With the kind of the career that you've had and the moveset that you used to work with, you've got to have some injuries where you're just like, I cannot.
I'll give you the dumbest. It just happened.
Okay.
In the spring, wrestled Ricky Shane Page. We did a match. If you go on YouTube, it's under JCW After Hours. It's free. We're the last match, and I think it's a good match. We wrestle, we get crazy, and eventually it breaks down to where we're playing with light tubes and a guardrail, like we said before. We did a ton of crazy shit or stuff that looked crazy, intense match. And I had him backed up in the corner, and I was throwing the double chops. He had a T-shirt on, and my pinky just caught the T-shirt, and I got a boxer's fracture in my knuckle. Broke my hand just because my pinky got caught in the T-shirt. Go figure that one out.
Damn it.
Shit. Watch that match. Watch all the crazy shit we did. And on a chop, I broke my hand. Because just the way my pinky caught the T-shirt. Watch, if you go back, and if you watch that match. The first half of the match, I'm utilizing the double chop with the Jimmy Snuka chop. And then about halfway through, you see me switch to single chops. And you see I do slingshots and all kinds of stuff with a broken hand because I'm loving this match. I'm having a great time. I know my hand's broken, but I wanted to finish it. So
you knew immediately? Like you knew instantly?
I knew.
Yeah. I find it hilarious.
It's what I do.
Fair enough, right?
Go back and watch, and you'll distinctly see when I switch from double chops to single hand chops.
I mean, I'm sorry you got hurt, but I find it hilarious that in a match where you go through a guardrail and light tubes,
a chop,
a pinky, a cheek, one of the biggest detractors. So you and I share something in common. All right. And it has something to do with your physical therapy school. So I have to ask, is it Kane or Keen?
I always called it Kane.
Kane, right? It's Kane.
Yeah.
I'm currently doing my doctorate out there.
Awesome, dude. Awesome.
Yeah. So it's near and dear to my heart, even though I can't fucking stay in that place because I got to finish.
When I went there, they were doing all kinds of construction. There was literally nowhere to go. No kind of activities. The whole place was under construction when I was going. So they're doing all kinds of renovations and stuff. So you're probably enjoying the campus that was built during my time, and it was mud and construction sites and all kinds of shit all over the place. There was nothing to do. There was nothing to do.
There's a fucking Chipotle in the student center. Like, it's,
oh my
it's
God,
gorgeous.
that's what. This is an AHA seltzer. I'm done with beer.
Oh, you done? You done? What's more important for you? So let's get back to wrestling for a second. What's more important? Is it the face or the heel? In your opinion?
They're both equally important. And I'll go a step further. What a lot of people don't realize, and I try to involve them in all my matches when I can, especially on independent shows when there's more time, is a active and ref with authority. A lot of refs will watch and just make pinfalls. I love, if I'm a heel, going in the corner and pounding on a guy, having the ref back me up because I've gone past the 5 count. I get reprimanded and then I'm sorry or whatever, or I got 5, and then I just circle around and I do it again. In that move, you're communicating to the fans, you did something wrong, you were reprimanded for it, and then you went and just did it again. You're the bad guy. A lot of refs are very passive. They just watch the action and they count 3 or they count 10 when the action is outside. I love a ref that gets in my face and will actually point on my chest and say, hey, one more of those and you're out of here. I think the baby is important. The heel is important. But a ref is very, very important and often overlooked.
Fair enough. What's your favorite role to play?
Heel.
Heel.
I love being a dick.
Always has been?
Yes.
Yeah. It must be enjoyable, right? Like, you get to do kind of sort of whatever the fuck you want as a heel, no?
It's cool. I get to tell people off, and I think it's a reflection on your character. You know, like I do the promos now. I have a lot of fun with them. I deliver promos. I know in some of the bigger league through friends of mine, talent is being told, watch Crowbar's promos, watch how his facial expressions, watch how he reacts. And that's kind of mind-blowing. I grew up as a very, very socially awkward fat kid with an incredibly bad speech impediment. So in 2021, for me to be making some waves as somebody that could talk is mind-blowing to me. And through all that, being somebody that talks shit, as I do in my promos, mind-blowing. So it's really cool to look at stuff that, you know, you don't mind in pro wrestling, but maybe it's not your cup of tea, and maybe you could comment on it with the purpose of maybe triggering the audience to maybe, just maybe, believe that you're that bad of a guy for just a moment is very empowering and very cool. And I also enjoy a more aggressive in-ring style. But in this day and age, that aggressive in-ring style, Vader bomb off the guardrail, Northern Lights with the chair, more aggressive, I would say, traditionally heel moves. They end up being some of the moves that the people like the best. So it's a weird dynamic.
Well, so I'm glad you enjoy playing the heel so much. So I'm going to elicit a little bit of that right now in this last part, this last question that I got for you. And Crowbar, really, I appreciate your time. You just came out of work. You've been doing physical therapy all day with all these bums out there that need their arms and legs helped out and fixed and backs straightened out. But now we're going to talk about the new age, the new era, and these spot monkeys, these kids playing wrestling. What does timeless Crowbar have to say to them?
To them as a character, to the fans that like that, I'll crap all over that stuff. In all reality, I like to think that I'm one of the guys that started this stuff. I am a recovering spot monkey. I I still like doing some of that stuff. I like doing a lot of that stuff, although that doesn't really play into my promos at all. I'm older than a lot of these guys. I can still do a lot of that stuff. I enjoy doing a lot of that stuff. I enjoy the fact that at 47, I can still do a lot of that stuff, and that's really, really cool. But as I said, athleticism now is on a whole nother plane, a whole nother level. It's crazy. So while I can do some of the newer stuff, like the 1.5 with a corkscrew or all this wild stuff, I've done something like it, or I've done that somewhere along the lines. I enjoy what we call in wrestling basing for stuff like that. I enjoy being Psychosis. Rey Mysterio for years got his reputation for all these moves, but the guy that he did a lot of those moves with was Psychosis. He knew how to take those moves. He knew how to make Rey look good. And I feel kind of that's where I am in my career now. I'll throw a few things out there like Psychosis did, but this spectacular stuff that these new age babyface spot monkeys, whatever you want to call them, want to do, if I can do it, I damn well know how to take it from you. And if we want to tell a story where my character shits on that kind of stuff, eventually I'm going to fall victim to it when we do our match. And just like I fell victim to the light tubes with RSP, and it just works. It's a really cool phase. You know, there are people in wrestling, veterans, that hate this new style. They legitimately hate it. I don't hate it at all because I did it. But there are legitimate veterans in this business that hate that style. They'll talk shit about it and yada, yada, yada. Give me somebody that might not like that. Just give me a veteran name that's out there somewhere. Or like somebody that's working out there. Give me somebody.
Someone that's working that doesn't like that stuff?
Or like Randy, say hypothetically.
Orton.
Say hypothetically, hypothetically, Tito Santana was out there and he was this is hypothetical, and he's talking shit about spots and moonsaults and flips and this and that. You can't put Tito in a ring with one of these young guys and have him do all this stuff because he just can't. He's out there. The fans love him. Tito's great, but he's not proficient in doing this modern style. I could be a character that talks shit about this. I could run it into the ground like nobody's business. I could get a visceral reaction from the fans where they think that I'm a vindictive, nasty prick that doesn't like their style. And then I could get in a ring with one of their guys and I could fall. I know how to take all that. I could still do this stuff and give the fans the payoff that they want to see. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Oh, for sure, man.
For years, as I was coming up, and it's just the way it is. I'm not talking down. I'm just talking real, and it's a dynamic that exists. Say I was booked against a veteran that's been around. It's always an honor. It's always a privilege. But as a guy coming up, you have to take care of the veteran. Take it easy. Make sure you do a match that they can do. One of my goals, this is huge here. One of my goals in 2021, I never wanted to be said, you're working with Crowbar tonight, so tone it down a little bit. Just make it look good. Fuck that. Never. That will never happen. And when it's never happened, ask around. It's never happened in any of my matches. And when it does have to happen in my matches, I'll probably walk away. I take a ton of pride that when guys work with me, they go, what do you want to do? I said, whatever you want to do. Let's tear it up. And I request to work with younger guys. So going back to what we were saying before, I love delivering the promo. I love shitting on this modern stuff, which I really love a lot of this stuff. But I love being able to give the crowd the payoff when I fall victim to this style that I shit on, because I can still do it. And not many people my age can still do it. And I'm proud about it. That might be a friggin' promo one day. Who knows? Things never said in our wrestling locker room. Take care of Crowbar. You're working with him tonight. Tone it down a little bit. He's a veteran. Fuck no.
Never.
We'll do it properly, wine and all.
Awesome.
But have the Bud Light lime on the side, ready for after the shot. You know?
Not just a Bud Light lime tall boy.
Tall boy. It's gotta be a tall boy. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys, man. It was fun. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Take care. Have a good night.
Yeah, subscribe and like, hit that button right now. All right, follow us on Twitch, SoundCloud, iTunes, your mother's